Stroud and Robert Carradine. That took off the third season. And I have to say, I was skeptical of King of the Nerds before it came out, Kyle Clark.
I'm a more firm believer in democracy of the nerds than monarchy.
But it ended up being a fun show, and they're sweet dudes.
I think as long as they're existing where we can have a parliamentary system along with the symbolic monarchy.
A little too much on the political structure of the...
I feel like that's the nerdiest thing I could do about it.
Oh! You are now King of the Nerds! Oh my god! Well, wait, woohoo, but you didn't want a monarchy, but now you're the head of the monarchy, so that makes it okay? Because that would make you kind of a hypocrite.
To step down like George Washington and decide to just be president? Damn it, democracy's hard.
Yeah, it really is. Well, use your power responsibly. Kyle Clark will not be on King of the Nerds, by the way, when it premieres for season 3. You knew you weren't going to be on. What do you know?
But I can hope. They can add me in post.
They're not going to add you in post, I promise. January 23, 9 p.m., TBS season 3. King of the Nerds.
What if I just sent him a bunch of footage of me in front of a green screen and was like, guys, I don't know if you're on a little light on an episode.
What a compelling argument. I see no way
that this could go wrong. I agree.
Yeah. But Danica's on this season, by the way. Danica and Penn Jillette.
Ooh.
And Moby. 3 podcasts so far, yeah. And who else? Lisa Loeb is going to be on.
Oh.
Yeah, come on.
I didn't say, I just moaned a little bit because, I don't know,
We went out for 4 months.
To be honest, I'm still thinking about how much I like Moby.
I never dated Moby.
You should.
You think we're friends? Like we could...
Maybe you guys take it to the next level, and then when you guys are friends, you can be like, hey...
What if I show up at Moby's house and sing Stay, I Missed You?
Oh, that'd be amazing. Can we just put that on the website? Can that
Craig Robinson in the trailer for Hot Tub Time Machine 2, Craig Robinson is singing "Stay I Missed You" in one of the. It's really fun. It's really funny. What are you up to this week?
It's my birthday tomorrow.
That's right. It's my God, Kyle Clark's birthday. Kyle Clark is rad on Twitter.
It is actually my birthday the day this is out, so they're listening to this on my birthday. This is the day long.
Happy birthday, Kyle! It's your fucking birthday. Because birthday songs,
I like that. It's a very 90s birthday song.
Yeah, I mean, it's we'd have to pay royalties if we sang the actual birthday song.
No.
So, it's your fucking birthday, Kyle.
That's a better birthday song. I like the casual
It's
swearing
your fucking birthday.
Kind of a Rob Thomas approach to it there.
Yeah, it's your fucking birthday. Yeah, it's your fucking birthday.
Kind of morphed into Alanis Morissette at the end.
Well, it's your birthday. You ought to know. Start bringing up 90s people that I can.
It's like having 90s demons inside of you. You just pull your shirt open and just Rob Thomas, Alanis Morissette coming out.
Yeah, it's like that scene in Scrooge where he gets in the elevator and death is there.
Exactly.
And all those faces. Yeah.
My body is a roadmap of the 90s.
That would be an amazing affliction to have. This podcast is. I'm going to say this was huge for us. This is Bill Gates.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Have you heard of William H. Gates III? And
is that his real full name?
William H. Gates III.
I didn't know about the third. I try to keep track of that shit.
Yeah, William H. Gates III. Which, by the way, if you're a billionaire captain of industry, I feel like traditional captain of industry rules would dictate that you need to go by initials only. Like, he should have been W.H. Gates III.
Oh, that's a good name,
I mean,
too.
Bill was my dad's name. My dad was a bowler. My dad didn't
Bill
invent
is
Microsoft.
very disarming.
Yeah. And Bill Gates was actually very disarming.
Yeah, super sweet guy.
It was really fun to talk to him. We went up there because the annual Gates Foundation letter is coming out today. Actually, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where they basically tell you the Gates Foundation has set aside. I mean, they got a 15-year $40 billion of money that they're.
It's a really inspiring letter. Like I was reading through it. It's amazing. Like, they're such a great foundation.
I mean, one school of thought is hoard all your money, and another school of thought is like fix the world, give as much of it back as you can.
It's incredible the things they've accomplished.
So there's a few things about this episode. Number one, we talked a lot about the Gates Foundation. We drifted a bit into some of the nerdier stuff that I wanted to ask him about.
But you did ask him if he's played Zork, and I was very proud of you.
You know what I forgot to ask him? GIF. I know. I'm mad. I forgot. I should have asked him the ultimate question for me. But one fella in particular was exceptionally keen on us focusing on the foundation, as you'll hear. Which I completely understand. I mean, like they're the work they're doing is incredible, and of course should be.
We're trying to save the world.
We're trying to save the world. Could you please stop talking about obscure computer games from 1981?
But what kind of world do we want to live in without disease or poverty if you can't talk about obscure text adventures?
But I will say this, in the moments where we drifted into that with him, I mean, obviously he was passionate. He's obviously passionate about the Gates Foundation, but there was something really special I could see in just being in front of him, seeing in his face, talking about Comdex, talking about like the early days of computing and how they built the TRS-80. I mean, like it really, I could see like this is a guy. He loves this.
Hearing him rattle off old program code language, just like it's nothing.
So much fun.
So cool.
It was a really great experience. And so when we were wrapping up the interview, the reason that it's that you will see that it's an hour and 50 minutes long is because as Bill was leaving to go do something else, they said, "Oh, okay, so if you want to go downstairs, you can talk to some other people from the foundation." And at first, I fully admit, I think I was like, oh, I think I'm good. We got the guy. Like, I think we're good. But I thought, I'm kind of curious to see. And they said, well, there's this guy named Jay Wenger, and Jay is heading up. He's an epidemiologist, and he's heading up our efforts to eradicate polio. So I was like, all right, well, that actually sounds kind of interesting. So I sat down and talked to Jay for about 35, 40 minutes. And then Julie Sunderland, she handles the investment pool that the Gates Foundation essentially invests $1.5 billion like you would if you were an investment pool. But instead of trying to make money, what they're trying to generate is better lives for people. So I talked to her for like another 35 minutes. So Bill is 0 to 40 minutes. And so if you feel like, I got it, that's all I came here for, that's great. But I would also further challenge you to listen to Jay, who had incredible stories.
Blew my mind.
Incredible stories about literally trying to eradicate a disease from the human race. And Julie was a phenomenal talker and super engaging, and so many things that I didn't understand about, like why you can't just go give a country $1 billion and go, okay, you're fixed. Like ways that they have to do that by building infrastructure and creating technologies and things that actually make the social soil fertile for them to flourish. So I would say, give it a shot and listen to the whole thing, because they both, at the end of it, I was like, holy shit, I can't believe I almost didn't do that, because we wouldn't have gotten this. And so, I just want to thank the Gates Foundation for having us up there, and it was an incredible experience. This podcast was also brought to you by Birchbox. You probably every day use like shampoo or shave cream.
I'm familiar with these concepts.
No, you're not. Your hair seems clean, but you don't use shaving cream. Do you shave your cheeks?
I do the cheeks and the neck.
Do you have you tried Birchbox yet?
I have not. Tell me about this product.
Well, Birchbox lets you test drive a personalized batch of grooming and style essentials. Kyle, yeah, that's right. Subscribers receive every month 3 to 4 grooming samples plus a Dapper accessory. And I think you could use some more Dapper in your life. All tailored, now that you're a big boy and it's your birthday.
True. I need something to accentuate these sweaters.
I made Katie laugh. It's $20 a month. Your box is going to get a full range of top-shelf grooming samples, heritage shaving creams to woodsy colognes, gadgets, bar tools, stylish accessories. Birchbox also has a great loyalty program. Points equal money. You earn 1 point for every $1 that you spend in the shop, and every 100 points is equal to $10 to spend in the shop. So
another 10%.
The more you spend, the more you get. Right now, of course, head over to Birchbox.com. Use the promo code Nerdist to get 100 Birchbox points with the purchase of your subscription. That's $10 to spend on your new favorite products.
Birchbox. You'll be so dapper, you'll think you're wearing a monocle.
I hope they use that from now on. Happy birthday, Kyle Clark.
Thank you, Chris.
Here's Nerdist Podcast number 627 with William H. Gates III.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
Keep our name tags on. Make it easy.
Oh, did I keep mine on? So you can't be in this building without a name tag. We're gonna have to ask you too. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to.
I can only not have it.
Are you his? You're literally his name. You're like his human name tag. You let everyone know.
That's how everyone knows that this is Bill.
Are you making a bootleg of this podcast?
Right, I am making a bootleg of this
Or it's free. You're not going to
Yeah, we did give it away.
I think we're about to get tased. Are we going to get tased? If we
Yeah.
ask a question? Okay, good. All right.
Well, depends on how this goes.
Okay. Oh,
Why does
pressure?
Why does his recorder look better than ours? It's pretty similar. I don't know.
It's way
I'm
cooler.
tiny bit different. I feel like his design is a little
We
more.
can compare afterwards audio quality.
He's in another room. It sounds even better somehow. Yours has one of those cool buttons on the side. Welcome to your offices, Mr. Bill Gates. I'm wondering, so you've been doing meetings, you've been doing interviews all day for the Gates Foundation? Is that what's going on today?
Yeah, I started at 8 this morning, did a couple. The annual letter comes out next Wednesday.
Yeah.
And so it's a chance to talk about what we saw, and of course this year focus on what can be done in the next 15 years.
I read the letter. It was 8 pages, great, quick read, but a lot of information about... There were some things in the letter that I actually never occurred to me. I want to try to cover a lot in the little bit of time that we have with you. So it's loose, conversational. If you want to swear, go ahead. There's no restrictions.
Damn.
Bill.
There we go.
Hey, wait a minute.
Close. You're getting
Not
that.
the D word. But
We're getting there.
it's getting so filthy. But ultimately, what never occurred to me, someone told me a couple years ago, I think people just assume, oh, well, if you have a lot of money, you can just give money to someone and that fixes all their problems. And the answer is no. You actually have to, from what I want to understand, you actually have to give them the infrastructure to figure out how to distribute that money properly. Is that true?
Well, in the end of the day, it's not money that counts. It's having a good job, being well educated, having your kids be healthy. And so making sure that those systems, the education system, the primary health care system, the food growing system, agricultural productivity area, those things work well. It's pretty complicated because it's a mix of government and the private sector, and really learning why those things haven't worked well in poor countries. It does require a lot of learning because it's far away. It's very different than what we experience day to day in a country that's quite well off.
Yeah. Well, but is it because it kind of seems like, well, money is treating a symptom. You have to do the preventative work to make sure that people are educated, they have the right systems in place. But then to do that, don't you need money? Like, what's the chicken and the egg scenario?
Well, if you go back 300 years, things were pretty rough. Over 30% of kids died before the age of 5 everywhere, even the country that was the best off. Some countries got ahead in terms of building very productive agricultural systems, so the nutrition, the amount of food, and the variety of food you got was very good. Then that's really the bootstrap. Your agricultural productivity is kind of the starting point. Then that allows you, if you do that well, to do more in the way of education, to do more in infrastructure, and then, of course, we got electrification, mechanization, productivity in the agriculture sector went up so dramatically that most of the labor then could go over to all these other things. And most of Africa is still back in that phase where almost everybody's a farmer, and most of their output is simply for sustenance, just to feed themselves. And so we have a lot of understanding of, okay, we got productivity up, how can we help them do that? And you're right that when you're poor, the bootstrap is difficult. That's partly why foreign aid and philanthropy come into play a role. Those governments, say they look at malaria and say, not only is that killing kids, but it's causing even the kids to survive because of the way their brains have been messed up, to not be able to learn, to not to be able to contribute. They might think, okay, we need to get rid of malaria. But the kind of science and money to create a malaria vaccine and get that out there, they just don't have the resources, the scale to do it. And so they do look to the rich countries, including the United States, to step up and say, okay, you've got science, you've got money, this is all part of humanity. I talk about global citizenship in the letter. And that some of that's been happening, and it has helped a number of poor countries move up. In fact, if you go back to 1960, there were only a few rich countries and lots of very poor countries. The big miracle of the last 75 years is that many of those poor countries like China, Mexico, Brazil, Thailand, South Korea went from poor into middle income. South Korea is actually the extreme. They've gone all the way to where now they're part of the rich country club. But we still have a number of poor countries, a lot of them in Africa, not just. You still have Yemen, Afghanistan, and a few others. But numerically, the most are in sub-Saharan Africa. And we know what needs to be done. Some of their soils aren't as good. Their terrain, they don't have infrastructure. Without roads, a lot of the stuff is more difficult. And when you're a poor country, you tend to have pretty poor governance.
Sure.
That you don't have as many well-educated people. The people are spending their time getting enough food. So the idea of voting is more about expressing loyalty to your tribe than it is evaluating somebody's bureaucratic excellence in creating things. And so governance tends not to work very well until you get up to a middle income status.
Now, when you say if you go back 300 years and you go back to 1960, you literally can do that, right? The Space Needle is a time machine that you're using to travel back in time. Am I correct?
Well, I was alive in 1960.
What's that like?
5 years old. I was born a couple miles south of that Space Needle there.
But we have an amazing view right now of the Space Needle and the EMP Museum, which is incredible. And do you ever go wander around the EMP Museum?
EMP, you probably know that's a Paul Allen creation. Mm-hmm. He had a fascination with
Fascination or obsession?
Oh, he plays the guitar.
Sure does.
He loved Jimi Hendrix. Paul would always say to me, "Are you experienced?" He tried to help me get yes on that.
We got to work.
And so anyway, he built that, and it's actually nowadays it's got science fiction. Yeah. It's got quite a variety of things that they've been driving up the traffic. So it's kind of interesting that our visitor center is right there across from the EMP, and then this whole Seattle Center area had a World's Fair back in 1963, which is one of my earliest memories, coming and seeing, and at the time they were showing video phones and electric typewriters. What was
robots in the home?
Well, we're getting there.
Yeah. Well, did you? I'm kind of bummed there's no more World's Fair. I mean, I understand that the internet and the sort of the localization of the global community sort of made it not as sexy to be like, oh, that's what's going on over there. Oh, that's what's going. Like now you can just. You can just go on to Gizmodo or something. Oh, these items are coming out. Like, do you miss the World's Fair?
Well, there still are World's Fairs that take place. We just had a Consumer Electronics Show.
Well,
I didn't happen to go. Yeah. So there's still place-based stuff to show off things.
CES's hot air balloons were big this year at CES as part of their fair. I loved. Did you like CES? The grind of CES?
Yeah, I gave the keynote there for over a decade. I would do a kickoff and talk about how hardware and software were coming together in magic ways. And there was another show that was in the fall there, Comdex. That was kind of the personal computer industry show. That's where back in 1990 I gave a speech called Information at Your Fingertips, and talked about your digital wallet and how all the world's information would be there. No, it was fun. I mean, those were events to kind of see what your competitors were doing and meet with your channel of people who are selling the products. And so it was a big deal in my Microsoft day to figure out how we'd make a splash at those shows.
But now, I mean, it's now, when channels like the E! Network are showing you stuff from CES. But what were the early days of personal computing? What were these conventions like?
Chris, then we're going to get back to the letter.
Yes, this is how the podcast works.
It'd be great, but we want to get back to we want to focus on that.
Okay. Yes. This is just the ebb and flow of how the. Yes. I promise.
Great. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, it was interesting. The first computer shows were these West Coast computer fair. And that's actually where I met Steve Jobs. He was in his booth with some of the early Apple IIs, and I was there with the company MITS, who we did the software for that had this Altair 8800.
Oh, the Altair.
And the shows were kind of podunk, but there was a certain sense of excitement. You could go around and see things. And then when it got really big with convex, we were like, wow, this is so corporate. Now people have models in their booth, and it got really amazing. And they built other exhibit halls. But at first, it was just kind of the people talking about their stuff, and we actually created a MITS mobile that went around the country and started user groups. And I spent a lot of my time going out and speaking at user groups. That's a phenomenon that's not as active as it was back then.
Do you feel? I mean, what did you learn during that period that you are now applying to the foundation? Like, what are some of the things? What are some of the similarities, and what are some of the tools that you feel you picked up?
Well, the idea of taking on complex science and engineering projects and finding very smart people, getting into the basics of, hey, how do you stop malaria? How do you stop HIV? Who's the smartest? Let's, commit resources to them. And even if it takes 5-6 years, and even if we hit some dead ends, let's stick with it. That kind of engineering belief that was core to Microsoft's success, that carries over to this work. The thing that's different is that in the IT space, if you come up with something fantastic, like a Windows 95, then word of mouth, a little bit of razzle-dazzle, it gets out there. In the world we work in now, where you're trying to get vaccines to all the children in the world, you're working through healthcare systems that people don't necessarily show up, they don't have electricity, the healthcare center's not in the right place, the training isn't done the way it should be. And so that delivery mechanism, we spend a lot of time both on that upstream invention,
Sure.
Which is very, very, very key, better seeds, new vaccines, but we also spend a lot of time on this delivery part, the downstream part, where you create women's groups, and you create measurement systems, you get training programs in, and you're dealing with governments that have very, very few resources and not much background. And so how do you help get them to be self-sufficient and have the system work? There are places like Rwanda and Ethiopia where that's gone extremely well. There's places like Nigeria and Pakistan where it still needs to be done.
Right. And so at least when you're writing code for a machine, it's basically a mathematical problem, I would assume. But when you're dealing with, like, how do you crack social code, like when you're basically trying to figure out how to organize people and how to essentially program a culture, to reprogram a culture to understand something?
Yeah, the social things are not that mysterious. I mean, if you get the women in the village together to talk about, hey, is the healthcare being done properly, and talk to each other about we all should get our children vaccinated, that creates a pressure that helps maintain the performance of the system. And if you have a system that really checks vaccine stockouts, have somebody send a photo of that storeroom, every week, and just look and say, hey, there's nothing there. Then if the right rewards are in place, that measurement system can drive you to do things pretty well. So I don't think it's because it's super complicated. You have to do it with very finite resources and people with very modest training, but we're getting there. It's kind of like going out and creating user groups. You got to do it everywhere.
Yeah. Does it, when you started the foundation, did it feel like, did you get that charge again of starting a brand new thing, trying to revolutionize something, trying to bring, a technology where there was not technology?
Absolutely. All of our programs, to take one like sanitation. Okay, why don't slums in poor countries have good sanitation? And what kind of problem is that? And could we create something that would almost take the sanitation and make it valuable, and so it's worth cleaning it up and not having the diseases and the smell that the way it works today is so awful. And when you first sit with the engineers and say, okay, what's the energy content? What's hard about this? That is like kicking off a software product. Software development cycles tend to be shorter than vaccines or sludge management systems or even new seeds. A lot of the foundation stuff is a 6 to 8 year product cycle because of the trials that you have to do, safety trials for medicines or field-based trials for crops. And in software, it used to be 2 or 3 years. Now, for a lot of things, it's more like 6 months or a year. So you do get spoiled in IT that the ability to get very quick feedback and change products very rapidly. Most other industries, even in the rich world, don't have that type of quick cycle time.
I was surprised. It never occurred to me in reading the letter, and it's one of the goals was to bring digital banking to people, and it never occurred to me. Oh, well, yeah, of course. Well, they need to have a way to store their money and be able to distribute their money across long distances, and especially if they're used to like a barter system economy. So how do you go in and teach people like this is a bank and you can trust it, and you don't have to put whatever money you have under a mattress. You can put it here, and even though you can't see it, it's fine.
Well, they have money lenders in the village, and they just charge extremely high interest rates. And so if you have to fund a funeral or medicine, then that's where you turn. So they have the services, but they're very inefficient. They're putting their savings into, say, buying a cow or something that can get sick, or if you want to sell part of it, that can be very tricky. And it's really just because the way the rich world designed banking, it's got high overhead. It can't deal with a $1 or 50-cent transaction without taking 20% of the money to fund the personnel and overhead costs. And so what the digital revolution gives us is a chance to build a banking system